is only war.
Charge roll and must move into base-to-base contact with the enemy model if possible. What the fuck? So there goes our slingshot, right? What is up, gents? 40k Dirtbags here. We are doing a leaked video, so thanks for clicking on the channel. If you guys are new, definitely hit subscribe. So these videos actually pop up for you guys, but we're going to do more of a competitive type video where we're going to go over, I wrote a whole list down of all the changes that are going to be coming up in 10th edition. So if you guys have seen the leaks that were just posted today, so I'm trying to do this as fast as possible to get it out to you guys sooner the better, so that we can start thinking about it, planning for it. Maybe the upcoming videos that are on the channel are going to be involving some of these different leaks, especially with the combat phase and shooting phase and all that fun stuff. So first we're going to go through each page, but I'm only going to pick out the ones that really change, so like the biggest differences between 9th edition and 10th edition, so that we guys don't have to go through every single thing that stays the same, because it's kind of pointless. If you guys already know the game, then not a lot has changed. It's really just kind of, I have about 10-15 bullet points. So again, I'm going to try and keep it as simple as possible and explain to you the major changes between 9th and 10th edition. So first off, if you guys are new to the channel, we do have a Patreon. If you guys like the content, go check out more content on the video before you sign up. But if you do sign up, appreciate you guys. That's $1 a month if you guys like the content, $5 a month for a Justicar. But if you're getting into the competitive scene, we do have a competitive Dirtbags for Patreon, where you guys get to send me lists, ideas. We get to chat one-on-one in Discord, and we kind of help you get better at the game. In general, go ask people in Discord if they like it or not. And then there's a Grandmaster where I actually get to coach you one-on-one, either through our TTS, Tabletop Simulator, where you guys get to sign up and we get to play a game like that. Or I actually run your list specifically in a battle report once a month, so that way you guys can see how to run it. So those are the two different biggest things on Patreon, and there are already a lot of people on there doing it. So I do, again, appreciate all you guys. It wouldn't happen without it. And there's a bunch of stuff on Discord with dice, stickers, and objective markers, because we're sponsored through 3D6 Wargaming. So thank you. It's going to be awesome. But let's get into the video. So let's pull this up so that way we can go through it one by one. Again, I have all these tabs opened up, so we're going to try and make it quick and explain to you the biggest differences. So the first thing I wrote down in this shooting phase is going to be the lone operative. So I hope assassins are cool. I hope the Vindicator can maybe have Eye of Sight. That'd be awesome, but it's not going to happen. But if he can get perched up super high on a building and then can only be shot at within 12 inches, lone operative, which is going to be, they name assassins, unless part of an attachment unit, this unit can only be selected as a target of a ranged attack if the attacking model is within 12 inches. So if you have solos or characters that are off by themselves, they can only be shot if they're within 12 inches. So that's going to be helpful a lot with people that like assassins, or you have a Tau character that's kind of out in the open and just wants to shoot really far, ignore line of sight, all that stuff. So Brian's definitely going to help out with that. Let's go over to the next one. Setting up strategic reserves. So strategic is any battlefield edge. Before, you can never be set up on your opponent's battlefield edge. Now in here it says, during the second battle round, set up wholly within 6 inches of any battlefield edge, not enemy deployment zone. And then the next one is, from the third battle round onward, set up wholly within 6 inches of any battlefield edge. It used to say other than opponent battlefield edge. Now you can set up literally anywhere. So if somebody left you a spot in the back, you can actually walk in right behind them, or even walk in their table field edge on turn 3, because it has to be outside of the deployment zone. But at least it gives you now that option to walk in and just kind of charge their backfield, which would be insane. Cannot be set up within 9 inches of enemy models. And they also didn't put in here, I didn't write this down, but before they used to be able to put it with 1 inch of your deployment edge. Within 1 inch of your deployment edge, let's say it's your unit, you get to walk on your side of the table in your deployment zone, and within 1 inch of the table edge, and still be within 9 inches of the enemy unit. So you can't do that anymore. They got rid of that rule, it looks like it. But I don't know if they're going to have something else in here where you can still walk in your deployment zone and be within 9 inches. But from what these rules are saying, if somebody's in your deployment zone and kind of block you out, you really can't walk in within 9 inches, which brings up a question. What if you just block out the entire 3 or 4 boards within 9 inches and nobody can walk on the table edge? So that actually just came up with a big question. Back a long time ago, Eldar used to put their jet bikes along the one side of the deployment edge so that way you couldn't walk in. If you couldn't walk in, you would die by the end of the game. And this also says at the end of the game, you if you're not on the table, you die. So you start bringing him in turn 2, but this doesn't say it's limited to turn 3 before. So before it was turn 3, now it's any turn. So if you can bring him in turn 4, you can bring him in turn 5. So this is definitely going to be a game changer, because let's say you have one unit that's going to get behind enemy lines, or wow, that's huge, behind enemy lines, or engage, or anything that's going to be coming in turn 4, turn 5, and get in the last scoring turn. Even I think they're getting rid of the faction secondaries, but like Spread the Sickness, for example, or the end game one where you have to be in table quarters, that's going to be huge for that. So you're able to walk in different quarters now, any quarter, any table edge, as long as it's outside 9 inches of the enemy and within 6 inches of the battlefield edge. So that was a big change that I noticed even on the second page. This one, 2 inches or less move over. So this one says, like, when you charge in, you can move over terrain if it's 2 inches or less. So before it used to be 1 inch, where if you had a little piece of plastic that was sticking up off the edge, it was under 1 inch, you could just move right over it. Now it's 2 inches. 2 inches is actually pretty big for most scenario. Or most terrain features. Like, there's a lot of stuff that people put on their bases, or extra like fluff, right, in the game, where now you can literally just walk right over it if it's 2 inches or less. So I know a lot of windows, like, it goes all the way down under 2 inches and then back up, or it's going down and then it kind of like breaks off. You literally could just walk right over that if it's under 2 inches. So that was a difference as well. Pile-in moves. This one. So pile-in also was a huge change. So I'm going to make a whole video on pile-in and melee right after this one, so you guys get to know kind of how it all works. But with the pile-in, it must end with an engagement range. So the difference here is you used to be able to pile in and consolidate to the closest enemy target. So let's say one unit charged in and killed that unit, then your other unit that charged in, they then get to pile in and consolidate still, as long as they charged. Difference now is if you don't have anybody to pile in to engagement range, you can't do a pile-in move. So that's huge. That's going to take away a lot of movement for armies that want to do slingshots. There's no more slingshot in this game. You cannot slingshot your army anymore. Death Guard, I did a whole video on it. It fucking sucks. But you're not able to slingshot steal objectives anymore. You're not able to slingshot or charge in like a really tanky unit and then charge in like a beefy killer unit. The killer unit kills that unit, and then the tanky unit gets to move up. Now the killer unit kills it, the tanky unit's just fucking stuck there. So you have to be careful on who's going to be killing what, who's going to be finishing off units. There's going to be a lot of like math hammer and think hammer during the charge and movement phase. So the pile-in phase must end with an engagement range. If you're not within engagement range, you cannot pile in. So that was a difference. You have to end base to base as well. So which models fight? A model can fight with engagement range, which they don't say engagement range here. It might be half inch, but second rank has to be base to base of base to base, which is a huge fucking difference. So before it was half of a half. That was the second rank engagement range. Now it's just half inch for engagement range, and then base to base and base to base. So that's a big difference, because that's a lot of movement that you actually lose out if your units aren't together like Terminator blobs. So you're going to lose a lot of attacks for people not being able to get their bases into combat. So that's actually a big change with the pile-in. Model can fight if it's base-to-base contact with another model of its own unit, which itself is in base-to-base contact with the enemy unit. So that was big. When you consolidate, you end with an engagement range or onto the objective marker. So this was another big rule. Selecting targets, this one. So consolidating, you have two options. First option is if you were to consolidate, you have to consolidate up to 3 inches, so you can still go 0 to 3 inches. Every model in that unit must end closer to the closest enemy model, which is the same, and in base-to-base contact with an enemy model if possible. So that gets rid of shenanigans where you get to pile in, you know, let's say you're half an inch away, you can pile in, stay within half an inch away, and then pile in again, or pile in and then consolidate. So now you have to end base to base if you're allowed to. So the only way you'll be able to get that is like you might get an extra 3 inches, but then you have to base to base on the back end of the unit or the model. So you can still move your 3 inches, but you have to end base to base with that model. So that's going to be a big difference, like a huge difference with consolidating pile in and stealing objectives and all that stuff. So again, I'm going to do a whole video on how this changed, specifically the melee phase, but also a couple of videos when it comes out a little bit later of how to use it to your advantage. So this video is going to be made prior to this getting leaked, but it's going to end in a month anyway, so there's no point to doing the old rules. It's all about learning the new rules moving forward. So consolidate move up to 3 inches. Every model in that unit must end closer to the closest enemy model and in base-to-base contact with an enemy model if possible. Walls, stop it. Other models, stop it. So that's going to be a huge difference. If the above is not possible, here's the second part of this. Each model can move towards the closest objective marker, but it must result in the unit being within range of it and unit coherency. So here's an example. If you have an objective marker and a unit right below here, you finish off killing the unit and you're not within 4 inches of another unit, you can then back up up to 3 inches and touch that objective or get near 3 inches of that objective. So that way you can basically hold that objective or steal that objective or whatever it may be. So if you charge in, kill a unit, there's nothing around to consolidate into like another enemy unit within 4 inches, or now it'll be probably 3.5 inches. You can then move 3 inches towards the closest objective. So you can still kind of steal objectives, but you have to kill the unit, because if there's one guy left that's off the objective, you're going to have to end closest to that model and base to base if you can get there. So no more, again, slingshots and then piling into the other units. Like it's going to be a little bit of a brain teaser on figuring out how that actually works. So how the charge works, which I'm going to show you at the end, because that's why you can't do slingshots anymore, is when you I'll get into that later on. So we're going to get into that later. Next thing is right here. So base-to-base combat, consolidate within 3 inches, must end base-to-base within the unit. So here's an example. When they charge in, these two guys are base-to-base to the units. They cannot pile in because they're already base-to-base, but these guys around them can then pile in 3 inches to try and end base-to-base. So here they got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys in, and then the guys in the red are the ones that are base to base within base to base. So these guys in the red can fight. These guys in the back cannot. Before, these guys in the back probably would have been able to get into range because it's half of a half, so it's a really far distance. Now they can't. So the top two cannot attack, but everybody that's within base to base can make their attacks. This guy right here is off of base to base. He's about half an inch. So he is within engagement range. That's why I say it's half, not an inch, because this is half an inch of that guy. But he's still able to attack. This guy is getting base to base of this model, not this model, this model. So that's the example that they gave us. And then when they consolidate, they all get within, these three can't move because they're all base to base, but everybody else moves closer to end base to base of their attacks. So that is the example that they gave us in the rulebook. Let's go over scout moves. Scout moves is fucking huge. I don't know if I have any scout moves in any of my armies. I play Grey Knights, which I don't think I have any scout moves. I play Death Guard, which I don't believe have any scout moves. I play Sisters, which have scout. They don't have scout moves, but they have the one fast attack gun unit that gets to move up if they're in a Rhino, 6 inches pregame move. I don't know if that's going to stay or go away. Maybe they get scouts. Who the fuck knows? But none of my armies have fucking scout moves. Not even Chaos Space Marines. So scouts, they get to move up their movement of X. So if they're move 6, they get to move up 6 inches before, as long as they stay outside of 9 inches of the enemy unit. This doesn't say the deployment zone. Oh, it's pregame move. So doesn't say the deployment zone, I don't believe. It just says enemy models. So infiltrators might say during deployment, If every model in the unit has this ability, when you set up anywhere on the battlefield that is more than 9 inches horizontally away from enemy deployment zones and all enemy models. Okay, so you still have to say 9 inches away from deployment zones, which is good. I like that. But then the scout move. So this is what I don't get though, because scouts now, if they're in a dedicated transport, they can make their scout move in the dedicated transport. So do you use the dedicated transport movement? Because it says if embarked in a dedicated transport, that dedicated transport can make this move instead. So if the movement is like 10 or 12, they're moving 12 inches forward. So if we have a mission, which we don't know the missions yet, but that 9-inch circle bubble in the center, you're about 18 inches away. So when I make that move, it says must end this move more than 9 inches away from enemy models. So if I don't have anybody on the front deployment zone, I can then be within 9 inches of the opponent's deployment zone as long as I'm outside 9 inches from an enemy unit. So let's say I'm playing Blades of Victory, right, and my other opponent starting pretty far back because he doesn't want to get charged turn 1. Well, then you can then pregame move your 12 inches forward, which you're almost in the enemy deployment zone, and then you're still 9 inches away from the opponent. So that's going to be a little cheeky if you can kind of get closer than 9 inches of the deployment zone. But that's pretty cool that the scouts now in dedicated transports can move up. Maybe even sisters. Sisters would definitely love this because getting on the shrine, I don't know if we're going to have shrine anymore, but just to kind of get across the board. Now, everybody in the dedicated transport has to have the scout move. You can't have one scout unit and one regular unit. It has to be all scout units to get that move. So that was a change. Let's go into bodyguard. So leader model with the bodyguard keyword. Anytime you're attacking that unit, all the wounds have to go onto the bodyguard unit. So before the battle, character units that have the leader ability can be attached in one of their bodyguard units from the attached unit. Attached units can only contain one leader, which is I didn't know that, so that's new to me. Attacks cannot be allocated to the character model in the attached unit. So you cannot allocate to like an Abaddon or a Drago or whatever it may be that has a better invuln save. It has to be allocated to the models in the unit before the other model can take the thing. Now, the only thing you get around that is the one ability where it says precision. So precision is the only way to get around that to target the character, which then the character has to make their saves off the character, not the unit. But if, let's say, the character has one wound, then you still have to allocate all the wounds to the unit, but for the character. So if the character did a smite or took mortal wounds somehow, he has one wound remaining, you still have to kill the unit before you kill a character, unless you have a precision that can ignore that. So that was the difference in rules. So the leader is definitely going to be huge in this edition, being able to put leaders in almost every single unit, and knowing that role is going to be huge, because if you're planning on killing like an Abaddon, you have to nuke the unit first before you can go after Abaddon. So Abaddon's going to probably live most of the game, honestly. But that's going to be something to test around. I'm doing a whole video on stratagems. There's a bunch of stratagems that they released, all the core stratagems. So we're not really going to talk a lot about this, but every army basically gets this core stratagem, which is going to be insane. So I haven't looked at this purposely because I want to do kind of like a live review video of the stratagems. So in the next video coming up, you guys get to see me like, what the fuck is this? How is this a thing? And then think of units that are going to be breaking these stratagems as much as possible. So definitely hit the subscribe and notification bell so these videos pop up for you guys. And then let's get into it. So that's the next stratagem. And then here is going to be shoot at monsters and vehicles. So big guns never tire. Monsters and vehicle units are eligible to shoot in their controlling shooting phase, even while within engagement range, which has been the same. But you're -1 to shoot. I think the biggest difference is you can now shoot at monsters and vehicles if they are in engagement range. You're just -1 to hit. So that's actually ginormous change. Being able to shoot guard tanks, but they can only shoot shit in combat with unless they have the turret. And then monsters like demons, like if they're tied up with a unit that you know is going to die, and then on their turn they get to walk out and kill you. So this is going to be huge. Moving forward is monsters and vehicles can shoot and be shot at, even while they're within engagement range of enemy units. Each time a range attack is made by or against such a unit, subtract 1 from the attack hit roll unless shooting with a pistol. So basically, you just -1 hit them, which is fine because now you actually get to shoot them. So you don't get to tie up your unit and kind of not be shot at, which most of the time you want to pile in to tie up a unit so that way they can't be shot at, but now you can. So I'm thinking about like my Demon Princes in either Nurgle or Chaos Space Marines. Like, you're going to have to protect them as best you can now because they could be shot from outside sources. I don't know how Lookout Sir works, if the Lookout Sir is even a thing anymore. So that's going to be a big difference. That's going to be something new to look out, or to look out for in this edition. So locked in combat, units cannot shoot while within engagement range of enemy units. So that still stays the same. The only way to do that is big guns never tire, which is monsters and vehicles. The only way to get around that is if you have pistols. So same thing counts as if you have pistols, you don't suffer the penalty, you just shoot in combat like normal. Stealth is new. So stealth is -1 to hit. That's just innately. So if every model in the unit has the ability of stealth, which I'm sure there's going to be a lot of units that have this, each time a range attack is made against it, subtract 1 from the attack hit roll. So it's only range attacks, not in combat, which makes sense. So that's the stealth. Now, the next thing is the save characteristic. So here's something that if you guys want to try and do, there's a lot of stuff in the competitive scene where you want to know these rules like the back of your hand so that way you get better at playing the game and you can beat your opponent based off of skill, not just based off rules. The invuln save and the regular save. So the controlling player can choose to use either a model's invulnerable save or the save characteristic. So you get to choose. If you have a 2-up save and a 6-up invuln save like a sister, but you know you're about to get charged by this big ass fucking demon right in front of you, you can choose to use an invuln save rather than a 2-up save and just kill that guy, even re-rolling the successful save, killing that guy so that way that demon can't charge you and either steal an objective, kill unit, consolidate, pile in, all that shit. Like, you're basically killing your guys on purpose so that way they can't make a successful charge. That is like mind-blowing 4th edition, like 4D chess style playing this game, and that's a shout out to Brian who taught me that. That's huge, and same with resing models as well. So I do this now for Chaos Space Marines, is if they're shooting at your possessed and there's one possessed with 1 wound left and they're just randomly shooting at it with bolters, you're like, all right, I'm probably going to make my 3-up save or 2-up save. I'm going to take this on my 5-up invuln demon save instead. You roll it, you fail it, that one model dies. You can then now make that guy back with your master possession as they move up 9, and then you make a guy further, and then you have an easier charge. So shit like that separates, again, the tournament, like super competitive players with like the normal players that just like think they have to make a 2-up save. So remember that in your games moving forward, because that is actually pretty cool and pretty cheeky if you have ways to bring them back or stop charges or whatever it may be. So I'm going to give a little tidbit. This actually works with plasmas as well. So if you have like a sisters, right, and you have a 1 on the miracle die, you can do an overwatch, use that 1 with your plasma while you overcharge it. Your character then dies, and then the charging unit can't charge your character because it's not there anymore. It just died. So Nolan told me that one, so I can't wait to use that, or my cousin used that with his sister's army. So pretty cool. And you can only go +1 or -1 with a save. So unmodified saving throw can never be improved by more than +1. So now I think with cover saves and stuff like that, armor contempt, everything, you always get, +1 for armor contempt, +1 for cover save, +1 for being outside of 12. Like, there's always these pluses. So now it's only just +1 or the AP value. So saving throws can never be improved by more than +1. So I think that's going to stop, obviously, the 2+ saves, because in cover, specifically with this edition, you can't go more than a 3-up for the cover save. So let's say you have a 5-up save, you can only go down to a 4-up save with your with your saving throw. So I think that's what they mean by this, where if you have like a 6-up or a 5-up save, you can only go down +1, or if you have a 4-up save, you can only go down to a 3-up. You can't go down to a 2-up, especially with a cover. So that's going to be a little bit of difference here, is you can only go to a 3+ in cover. And yeah, so if you have like a 6-up save and you're relying on that 3+ cover save or whatever it may be, you can only go up to a 5-up. So that was a big change. Let's go to blast weapons. So this is a big thing that changed. I think this got better because you get to add one to the attack characteristic. They just released Death Guard today. Death Guard Plagueburst Crawlers. They have D6 +3 blast weapon shots. So it's basically D6 +4 essentially if you have a unit of 5, and then D6 +5 if you have a unit of 10. But it keeps going. If you have a unit of add 1 to the attack characteristic for every 5 models in that unit, rounding down. So if you have 15 units or 15 models or even 20 models, that blast is +4. So I'm D6 +7. D6 +7 shots on your blast weapon on a 20-man blob unit. That's pretty fucking cool. And then if it lives, the Plagueburst Crawler gets to do a battle shock test on that unit. Can never be used against targets that are within engagement range, which stays exactly the same. But yeah, so that's really cool. So the blast weapons did get better because units of 5 instead of 6. It used to be 6, now it's 5. And then adding characters onto that, it's going to be more. So if they go up to 11 models, it's still going rounding down to 5. They have to get up to 15 for it to count towards the next tier. All these other things, precision is new, where you get to target characters in specifically. Heavy is different, so you get to add 1 to the hit roll if the bearer unit remains stationary. So there's going to be a lot of tanks having this. Even like guys who are just kind of sitting, like heavy bolters, missile launchers, last cannons, all that stuff. If they're just sitting on the top building and they don't move, they get +1 to hit, which is going to be a change in this edition. So indirect fire, you gain cover. So if you're out in the open, you just get cover. If you're already in cover, you kind of get screwed. So can target and make attacks against units that are not visible to the attacking unit. And if no models are visible in the attacking unit when they are selected, then when making an attack against that target with indirect fire, subtract 1 from the attack hit roll, which is the same, but the target has benefit of cover against attack. So if you have weapons that ignore cover, like the Sisters weapons that just got released, you're just going to fuck them up. So you're going to get indirect, +1 if you're a heavy indirect, and if they're already in cover but you ignore cover, you ignore them. So that's a big change. It was +1 to your save, so you get to benefit from cover and that. Now it's just you get cover. So if you ignore cover, which most HAL shit does, you're fucked. So that was a big change as well. So let's go over to, I think this is the last one. Gotta get my notes out. The charges. So the charge phase, you must end closer and base to base. This I'm going to do a video on right after this if I got time. The unit advanced or fell back this turn. All right, so let's start from the top. Same thing with 12 inches, so you can't charge outside of 12 inches. A unit advanced or fell back, which stays the same unless you have a special rule that allows you to. Unit is within engagement range of enemy models, or a unit is an aircraft. So I can say your aircraft unit can't charge an aircraft unit, maybe? I don't know. Charging with a unit. Okay, you can then make a charge roll, and the charging unit is rolling 2d6. The result of is the maximum number of inches each model in that unit can be moved if the charge move is possible. If charge move is possible, here we go. The charge roll must be sufficient to enable the charge unit to end that move. Here's the thing. Within engagement range of every enemy unit that is selected as a charge target. So if you charge in 2 units, you have to make sure you end within both units, which is the same. But without moving within engagement range of an enemy unit that were not the charge target, which again is the same, but within your, where is it? All right, so within unit coherency. Let's go to the bottom. Units of a charge of 12 not exceed the visible, cannot move within engagement range of enemy units, and if the charge was successful, each model makes a charge move less than or equal to the charge roll and must move into base-to-base contact with the enemy model if possible. What the fuck? So there goes our slingshot, right? So if I have one guy within or outside 1 inch of me and I just want to charge him with this big ass fucking blob unit and I roll 12, I then get to run past this guy 12 inches. And as long as I end within 1 inch of that guy, I successfully made my charge. And then all these other guys get to pile in and consolidate and probably tag up other units or tanks or get on objectives or steal whatever. That was the slingshot. There is no more slingshot. You must move into base-to-base contact with an enemy unit if possible. So if there's one guy fucking here, you then charge past them, but you have to turn around and end base-to-base within that model. If possible. So basically you're going to like surround that model with all of your bases and then go into like the second rank and third rank and all that shit with your army. So you're not going to be able to charge, super far past models anymore. I read the first part of this. I was like, all right, it's fine. I'll start 9 inches away and then I can charge past the model 9 inches away. But it's not going to work that way. So you have to charge, up to 9 inches, but you have to end base to base within that unit if possible. That was the biggest change. So the charge phase, super fucking different now. Again, let's look out for that video coming up. Charge bonus. What is that? Each time a unit makes a charge move until the end of the turn, that unit has fight first ability. Okay, so they just gave it fight first. I don't know if they're gonna have differences with like fight first, fight last, all that shit. Like the last time it was just the most confusing fucking topic in the game. But okay, so yeah, that was everything that they released in all those pictures that this dude took. But let me all right, so what do you guys think? Let me know if you learned some things from this. Again, a lot more videos are going to be coming, especially with 10th edition, literally a month away. But I'm going to try and make as many videos competitively as possible so that way you guys can start practicing and getting ready for 10th edition. This is huge. This is good to know all of this beforehand. So that way when you're making lists and kind of planning out for 10th edition, you're able to kind of see what you have to think about. No more consolidating, no more any of that stuff. You're able to pile in onto an objective if there's nothing within coherency of you. So when you make a charge, you want to kind of charge on the other side of the unit. So that way when you're done and you don't want to pile into that unit, you can then move back onto the objective. So there's going to be a lot of tactics for that type of stuff as well. So yeah, I think it's going to be hopefully simplified. When I looked at the Death Guard thing today, it was not simplified. There were fucking keywords on every single weapon that they released, which I was kind of pissed off about because they're supposed to make it easier, and we lost a lot of shit in Death Guard. But hey, that's a different video. If you want to go check out that video, go check that out. But again, if you guys are new, hit that subscribe. We're almost up to 3,000 subscribers, and we're up to $260 on our Patreon. We want to get up to 500. That's our next goal. And once we get up to 500, we're going to be doing a lot more giveaways and a lot more stuff that we do for our Patreons. So if you guys are interested, go ahead over to that. But Discord is the place to be if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, plus video suggestions are up on Discord. Patreons always have first serve, and always post stuff that are coming up first for the Patreons on the Patreon page, as well as the Patreon in Discord. So that's locked out to only Patreons because you guys are fucking awesome. So appreciate you guys. Let me know in the comments below what part you like, what did I get wrong, if any, and if you have any questions, definitely I check the comments every single day. So good luck. Hopefully you're excited, and we'll see you in another video soon.